So, I
Gotcha.
think it's been a while since we talked.
It's been a minute. Yeah, like a month
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, it's been a busy month. There's been so much. I don't want to assume what you do. So what is it that you do again?
My business is I don't have a great elevator speech for this, but I teach corporate events that is just as much uh, a painting activity as it is a TED talk about the importance of creativity. So
Okay.
basically, what I do is try to uh, uh, encourage people to be the artists that we all are and to own that word,
Hmm.
artist. Um, so they are corporate events, so that is what you can say. I do private things in public classes as well, but the mainstay of what I do is go into uh, corporate things and try to teach people that doing art things helps with anxiety and all the things and outside the box thinking. It's as
Okay.
much TED Talk as it is. Here's how you paint a thing.
Okay. All right. So let me back up for just a
Yeah.
second because if I don't ask you this, I'm going to feel guilty because I usually offer the guest a way to introduce themselves, and so I think I should properly offer you that way to do that. And you might what you just said might be it. I'm not sure, but if there's anything you want to share about yourself to preface the conversation,
I should I should have an elevator speech version of what I do. This is what I put on bios. I am an
okay.
artist and a musician and a comedian who passionately believes everybody should be an artist, a musician, and a comedian.
Hmm.
It's basically
Perfect.
my thing. And I do this in a corporate capacity and in a public class capacity and in speaking.
Okay. Okay, so that's interesting. So let me ask you this, and I'm asking this because I have a follow-up question for this. So
Yeah.
how do you define art? Like, what is that? Like, what does that mean to you? Art.
And art is the end result of the thing created that wasn't there before. It could
Hmm.
be a meal, could be a flower in your garden, could be a knit cap, could be a painting on a wall.
I love it because
Yeah.
that directly aligns with what I was going to say. So, because I think we're all like artists. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
because if you use that definition,
Hmm.
it's like we all have a life that we are creating for ourselves that obviously wouldn't have been here without us, and
Yeah.
we're the only ones that can create this thing and bring it to life.
Right. And we all have that capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. So I
Yeah.
love that. We're already off to a great start.
Yeah.
Um, but my thing is like I tell people. So my story, like what where all this is relevant to my story is like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I'm not really a painter. I'm not a writer. I mean, I'll dabble in poetry every once in a while. Like I can
Nice.
write some
That counts.
poetry. Yeah. Um, but like my thing is like entrepreneurship. And I feel like that is an art form in itself.
1,000%, because it wasn't there before.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't there before. And it's like it takes so much. There's actually a lot of creativity that goes into entrepreneurship that I don't think people are aware
Absolutely
of,
true. Yeah.
because
People
it's not
people
like
think
a,
art is a thing that you pay to see on a stage or the thing on a canvas. It is
hmm,
so much more than that. And
yeah.
it's funny what a hard word the word artist is to own. When I'm filling out a form and I need to put my occupation, I literally do this for a living and I have a tough time writing the word artist because it feels like it should be followed by slash barista or something, like
Yeah.
it's got a connotation to it. I would love to figure out a way to get rid of that connotation and have us all just own the word artist. And that's what is behind the slash on your LinkedIn
Hmm.
profile. Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like I don't get what you're saying. The
It's
slash
a
like
well, like I have a lot of friends that are artists, and they also work at a coffee shop. And they also,
okay.
you know what I mean. And nobody. That's just a hard word to own because it feels one of two very different ways. It either
Hmm.
feels highfalutin. Oh, you're an artist, aren't you?
Yep.
What galleries are you in? Or it feels like, yeah, I'm an artist. I live on my girlfriend's couch, and
Hmm.
I'm that guy. It's those are the two connotations we give to that word and
Okay.
nothing in between. And we're all in between that. And these two things shouldn't those shouldn't be our perception, but it's kind of everybody's perception of the word artist, right? And um, I don't know how deep you wanted me to go in before we start, but
I mean,
I got. Are we in? Are we
uh,
doing this? Is this
yeah,
thing on?
we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Oh,
in.
great. Clip that out.
I mean, however deep you want to go, man, because like, but I think you're right. I think there is a certain connotation to the word artist,
Yeah.
and I mean, I wonder, but like, okay, so if that exists, if that
Mm-hmm.
label or whatever
Mm-hmm.
exists to art, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever we think of when we hear that word, I think that
Mm-hmm.
already by definition says how hard it is to be a successful artist at whatever the thing is, because
Say that.
we just assume that the person who says this is not quote unquote successful at it. You know what I mean? Like there's like it's more like a hobby versus like a job or whatever.
Right. Right. But what if uh, the being an artist is about the journey, not about whether or not you are a master at it, right?
Hmm.
We use the word amateur to beat ourselves up about how good we are at a thing, and just about everybody wants to use the word amateur when they're talking about artists, unless your last name is Da Vinci, right?
Right.
But the word professional means that you get paid to do a thing, or master. You get paid to do a thing. An amateur is somebody who does that thing for the pure love and enjoyment of it. We all should be that. We all should be amateurs at everything that we do. It maybe you're also get paid to do it, but you should do it for the love and enjoyment of the thing.
Okay. I really like this because this reminds me of the process, like the process of a thing.
And it's all a process. You don't get to a certain point as an entrepreneur and then go, I reached that level, I'm done now. I'm going to
yeah.
fish the rest of my life. No, you've got more places to go. It's all a journey,
hmm
right? Yeah. And art is such a great place to practice the knowledge of that journey, and also the little self-talk, the negative
hmm
self-talk that we all have all day long. Oh, I messed that up, and oh, my hair looks horrible, and oh, this, you know, art is outside of yourself, but your personality is on that. It's a piece of you. Your mood is on that canvas, right? And you can practice your self-talk with this thing that is outside of yourself. It's not always easy to just wake up one day and say, I'm not going to say mean things to myself today, because you don't have a ton of control over that little voice that is spouting off all of the time. But you can look at your painting and go, that's not a wonky Eiffel Tower. It's playful because my personality is playful, and so is my art. That's a little way to practice the neuroplasticity of can I can I give myself self-talk in a little bit better way than
hmm
what naturally just kind of happens. It's a great place to practice it, and honest to goodness, it really does start to happen where you're a little kinder with yourself. And art is doing creative things is a great way to practice that. Be conscious of it.
Yeah, I love this because I think I don't know if we've talked about Bob Ross before.
Hmm.
Is that his name? That's his name, right?
Bob Ross, yeah,
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 the painter.
yeah,
So like you'll see him paint or whatever, and he'll do something what seems like make a mistake, and then he'll incorporate that into the painting as if it's part of the painting. And I mean that's genius because
yes,
like in the entrepreneurship space, that is like changing how you see failure and incorporating that into your journey. And I mean, it sounds so like you'll see him. First of all, is he still alive? Did he pass away?
he passed away, yeah, in the
Okay,
90s, yeah,
I think I might have seen that somewhere.
yeah,
But like if you see these videos of him painting, it's just him. Like you don't even he's not even really trying to paint a specific thing. It's just painting. It's just doing the thing, like
yeah.
doing the process.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, and I think like in that process, that's what makes for lack of a better term, the masterpiece what it is the act of doing the thing.
Absolutely, yeah. People get if they find looking at a finished painting and then thinking, "Oh, I've got to paint that." They find that very daunting. But that's like starting the process at the end. That's not where the process starts, right? It starts just the way a newborn starts. That tiny little thing just needs a bottle or to be fed now and again, and then sleep. We
Mm,
can manage that. And as that little thing grows, our expertise at what that thing needs grows as well. Our business is like that, and our painting is like that as well. When I start people on a canvas, I say the first thing we're going to do is draw, and they get panicky. I have them put a line across for the horizon, and then I say, we're done drawing. We nailed it. Who'd have thought art could be so satisfying? and so attainable, because that's all we need first is a horizon line, and we'll just add and add and add a little bit more and a little bit more, and our businesses are kind of like that too, right?
Hmm.
It starts as our little baby business, and all it needs is an audience, or all it needs is for me to make a thing, all it needs is for me to come up with the process for this one thing, and then as our needs grow, we provide that thing, and pretty soon you've got a whole beautiful big uh, 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 cavalcade of processes around, but it didn't start that way.
Hmm.
It started with your baby idea. Yeah.
So, okay. So how do you like handle the situation where maybe somebody they're going to come in and to paint or draw, or maybe you yourself, you're going to paint or draw and you just don't really feel like doing that day? Like, do you just, maybe paint two or three strokes and that's it? Or like, do you just like what, because I'm trying to make the connection and like
Hmm.
kind of like overlay this to entrepreneurship and like a goal, a career, fitness, whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's like, man, if you can just on those days that you don't want to do, if you just do something towards that thing, like maybe one day you work 10 hours, maybe one day you work 1 hour, whatever it is. But if you just do something towards that thing, you might find out once you're in there and once you're doing it, you'll continue to keep going that day.
That is entirely true. It kind of happens. That's not uncommon for me to wake up and go, that's not what I want to do today. There are other things that I can do that can help get me there. And sometimes it is watching artists that inspire me on the socials. And sometimes it is gathering beautiful photos that I will want to paint someday, or going and taking the beautiful photos that I want to paint
Mm,
someday, right? There are things that I can find joy with that I can do today when lifting up paint isn't, the idea of it isn't giving me joy. And then sometimes it is just the, like, I've got a lot of canvases that look like this, Cody. It's just an orange underpainting, and if I don't feel like doing the real painting, I've actually got about 15 of these around my place. I underpaint with this color, and then paint the things on top. It's just a first step. This painting has orange and pink underneath it. Um, you can't tell, but it's there, and it is a good baby step to get me toward where I want to get. Because sometimes just the action of doing the thing, as you know, just getting in the mechanics, then all of a sudden your brain starts clicking with it. And you're okay, okay. I all of a sudden here's something that I want to try or
hmm.
something. So fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's like, and I tell people all the time too, man. We talk about consistency, like maintaining consistency and all
Mm,
that. And it's such a heavy word. It's such like we already, it's like we almost put more pressure on ourselves than we need to with the word consistency, but it's consistency is a direction and not an action. Like as
absolutely.
long as you are moving in that direction, that's like the main thing, man. Like, and that's, and like I said, what some days that might be very few steps, baby
Hmm.
steps. Some days that might be miles. But
Right.
I think it's just really important to continue to pursue in that direction, regardless of how far you think you're going that day. Because you can
Super agree with that.
because you can like really analyze the situation to the point to where if you analyze it and you don't do anything and you do that over a long enough time period, that's not what you want to have, because you're gonna be in the same place, in the same place in the future, versus if you just do the thing. And that's one of the reasons why I love talking about this, because you're talking about art, like painting. I'm talking
Hmm.
about entrepreneurship. The same
Hmm.
thing can be applied to your career or a goal or whatever it is that you're trying to do. But like the same thing applies, man. It's like the progress towards that thing. And it's
Right.
just it's crazy that these things it applies to all these different areas.
Right. You don't need to be turned up to 11 with your energy level or with
Hmm.
the speed of your movement. Movement is a really good word that I love. uh, because as long as things are moving, as long as they don't come to a halt, because it's harder to get moving from a fast stop, isn't it, than from just a little bit of movement. So movement is the word that I use.
Mm.
Every day there's got to be movement, and it might be movement here, and that's okay. And I like to tell myself that I'm this is not sustainable to keep going at this energy level. Is just not, you need a little break so you can come back strong again, right? And creativity doesn't happen at a super consistent level either. I find that when things dip a little bit for whatever reason, whether it is a negative thought that I've had, even, or just whatever the negative thing is where the trajectory for this happens faster than just
Mm,
trying to maintain up here, right? So I let this happen, and then try to figure out where to go from there.
mm. I love that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think being able to maintain, I think a lot of times we think that those really high performing days we're supposed to be able to maintain that. Um, and that's just not sustainable. I don't feel like, you
not
know.
sustainable. And growth can't happen because you're putting so much energy into staying up here on this high level. You do need to come down a little bit, and sometimes it is forced by a negative thing or feeling sick or whatever the thing is. But
So when
that's what.
you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's what keeps the movement interesting. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm curious, so what do you do with people? Like, do you, cause I have this thought that you train people how to paint, but that doesn't sound right. I don't think that's the way to phrase it.
It's hard. It's how I started. I started just as a paint and sip, and when I started doing corporate events, people were coming into the classes that would rather be anywhere than there. And when you are doing a paint and sip, everybody registers, everybody knows why they're going to be there, everybody's excited to do it. With a corporate event, your boss is telling you where to be at 4 p.m. on a Thursday, and you get the gamut of not only emotions about it, but excuses for why they shouldn't be there and why they don't want to do it. And I'm like, it just hurt my heart. I'm like, so I started tackling the why. That
Mm,
became bigger to me than the here's how you paint a thing. And so what I do is just as much a TED talk with encouragement and here's think about it this way instead is actually more important to me than teaching. The painting thing is just kind of the sneaky thing. I'm
yeah.
saying all this stuff, and at the end they're like, oh my god, I just painted a beach. What? Awesome. 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 This is what I tell people. We are all artists. We are the only living creature that creates, that makes things out of nothing just to do it, not because we need a nest or to impress a mate. And that creation can be a business. It can be a flower in your garden. It can be a thing on the wall, can be banana bread. It wasn't there before, then you made that, and that is your art. And proof of agriculture is less than 5,000 years old. It's been more
Mm,
important for us as a creature to express ourselves than to eat on the regular, right? And we've only been selling art to each other about 500 years. That is a blip in time, but that's the marker everybody uses as to whether or not they should do art. Are they good enough to sell it? That is not why you should do it. It is scientifically proven to help with anxiety and depression and sleeplessness and outside the box thinking and self esteem and all of these wonderfully, also uniquely human things. It's
hmm.
meditating with a parting gift. That's what creating is, right? When I just try to sit and meditate, I wish I could do it. I wish I could do it. As a Buddhist, I wish I could do it. I cannot. I spend 15 minutes just trying to shut off the to do list. Attention deficit.
Hmm.
But I can paint for 2 hours. Goes by like that. That is a mental reboot. That's the beauty of doing this thing. If you can turn off the voice that says it's supposed to look like something, it is not. Picasso's art looks nothing like Bob Ross's art, looks nothing like Van Gogh's art, which looks nothing like Andy Warhol's art. But it's all amazing and it all appeals to somebody. And they
Hmm.
are all professionals and they are trying to sell it. But they don't all none of them have to look like a thing, and nothing that you do has to look like anybody else's thing. That's a message your own head is giving you, and practicing art helps uh, shut off that message a little bit and be like, nope, whatever I come up with is going to be amazing, and it is.
So what would you say is like the goal for like this? I don't know if this would be considered a class or an event or like
Mm-hmm.
what you do. What's the goal when you're with these people? Like, what is the goal for them?
I, I want the aha of them at the end going, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do this. What else
Hmm.
can I do that I didn't know I could do? That, to me, is the goal. Or, oh my gosh, I don't think I could sell this, but I really want to do it again. That is the goal.
So okay, so would that be like overcoming fear, or because I'm trying to figure out if the goal is like overcoming
Hmm.
fear or self-expression or maybe a mix of both.
I think a mix of both because uh, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and not good at a thing, and not even having that be a part of the equation, the part of the thing you should concentrate on is how do I feel after I do this thing?
Hmm.
That is that is the goal, because starting anything else you're doing in life from that place, you're kind of bulletproof. You're kind of invincible. If no one is losing their job today, if my painting is wonky, uh, then
Right.
what have I got to lose with the next thing I'm going to do, right? We
Mhm.
we we put these expectations on ourselves, and trial and error is really the beautiful part of life. Those are where our good stories come from, and those are where our big successes come from. Don't they always say that if you always do the safe thing, you're you're not really trying? I don't know if that's right, if that's how it goes, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Staying safe uh, uh, is not a place to grow from. Just getting a little tiptoe outside of your comfort zone is where beautiful things happen. New sights open up, new thoughts come in. That is the
Hmm.
goal.
Yeah, that's first of all, that's a hell of a goal, man. That's pretty powerful.
It's
Um
super powerful. And it's
y-
hard to know how to take that first step when art is just a great place to do it. I'm sure there are other ways to do it. I don't know what they are, and I am biased. But art
well,
is a great place to practice that.
so man, there are different ways. I'm thinking of like a thousand different ways right now. Like it's like you're basically teaching people that if they fail or can't do this thing to the degree they want to do it, that that's okay because they can grow through that process. I mean,
Yeah.
martial arts are like that. Video
Yes.
games are like that.
Yes.
Like man, there's a thing like so the whole thing now with video games. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, but it used to be that it's not good for your mind and all this kind of stuff. It's definitely not good for your time. I will say that. But one thing I used to play video games a lot as a kid, teenager, and one thing it really taught me was like, if it doesn't work, try it again. If it doesn't work
Mm.
that way, try it a different way. You
Yeah.
know, um, and so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues for this. But like, I think what you're doing with the art is like it's a way to like express yourself through that
Yes.
process.
Yes, you are on that canvas. You cannot not paint like yourself, right? Your personality is on that canvas. I can tell things about a person by how long their brushstrokes are, by
Hmm.
whether or not, when I look at their painting when they're done, do I feel calm? Do I feel energized? These are things that that artist is either seeking or just innately has. Fascinating, fascinating stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Um, But I think like whether or not the person thinks they can do it, I think that's only like a very small, not small, but that's only a portion of the problem because it's like, well, whether they believe they can do it or not, I think that's one thing. But then also too, expressing themselves, I think is a whole nother thing. I think we all have a problem really expressing ourselves. And it's I don't think it's 100% our fault because society is a little bit crazy at the moment. Like people are just like, especially with now we're coming out of a political season and we have a new administration and there's already things charged a little bit on both sides. And it's like we have this, I wouldn't say it's a fear, but it's like it's an anxiety of like self-expression about what we think or what we believe or
Yeah.
what I mean, I was just talking to a person recently and they started a new thing. I want to be kind of vague here. They started a
Mm.
new thing that would really change their life and for in a good way. And their family, they didn't feel like their family supported them. Like the family was like, oh well, you really want to think about this? It's risky, whatever. You should do this, this, this. Um, but it's like that's a big thing, and I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't really know how to get out of that. Like for me, I was fortunate enough to like not have to worry about that. I didn't have that experience. When I started my business, it wasn't like I mean, I might have had a couple people here and there, but I didn't really have anybody to please or any footsteps to follow or
Mhm.
anything. And I know that sounds kind of depressing, but it was a gift in the moment because I didn't have to worry about that. but not everybody has that same experience. And so I think, the self-expression aspect of it, I think learning how to do that, obviously in a way that's not going to hurt anybody else or anything like that, but just kind of like even really like finding out who you are, I think is a huge thing,
Huge
with the
thing.
self-expression.
Yeah. When I started my business, when I first heard of paint night, I am a comedian and I'm an entertainer and I am an illustrator, and I thought I am uniquely qualified to do that and it sounds like a lot of fun. And I called a big chain to let them know how good I would be at it, and they told me, "Awesome, you can do it on Tuesday nights at this bar, kind of far from your house." And I thought, "Nope, I'm just going to buy easels." So I bought easels and paintbrushes and practiced a thing and practiced on
Hmm.
my friends, launched a business that I have never attended. And all of my friends, a few of my friends were like, "Why don't you just go work for that company and figure out how they do it?" And I was just like, "Nope, this is what I'm doing." And I think that what that is an indicator more than anything is that your friends and your family love you and they care about your comfort and safety. And that's
Yep.
awesome. But that doesn't mean, if you can't not do it, I couldn't not do it. That is a good sign that you are trying a right thing. It might
Hmm.
fail, it might not. We don't have control over that a lot of the time. That doesn't mean you
Yeah.
shouldn't try, because, like you said, you'll learn something for when the next thing comes along.
Hmm.
And our journeys are way more about that, and they're also about vulnerability, which feels like a scary word.
Hmm.
Another thing that we're dealing with besides the political climate is how perfect everybody is on the socials, right? uh,
Yeah.
everybody's having a good hair day and everybody's traveling and everybody's doing exciting things, and
Yep.
it is hard to think about doing vulnerable things when everybody else's life just looks and feels so perfect and they're all making the right decisions.
Hmm.
But like you mentioned, Bob Ross will mess up or do a thing and then turn it into something else. That's really beautiful stuff to see, right? I
Yeah,
I
for sure.
I we have this great exercise we do in my improv group to warm up. We all stand in a circle and the moderator goes around saying, "What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?" And people are like, "Sharks, spiders, the dark, high spaces." And that's fine. But by the time we go around a second or third time, it's that my dad never loved me, that I'll
Mm,
never find a job I love, that I'll live in a cardboard box. And when those vulnerabilities start coming up, is when everybody else in the circle is thinking, "I really want to go give that guy a hug and tell him I've had thoughts like that too, and I'm okay, and we're okay." Vulnerability is the good stuff,
mm,
and being okay with messing up at art is a vulnerability with yourself, right? And putting that art out there is even a more of a vulnerability. There are going to be people who are going to uh, poop on it, and
mhm,
they're not your people then. And I think you're going to get those reactions of people saying, "Why don't you just do this or that?" And that's that's them talking more about their comfort levels than in their ability, about their belief in your ability.
mhm.
And that's something to keep in mind.
Uh, Man, there's so much there I wanna touch on. Um, so you were talking about, if your family loves you or whoever it is that's telling you not
Hmm.
to do this thing, they love you, and it is essentially their fear about whether or not if you're gonna fail, and I
Hmm.
get that. Although I do think sometimes, it's because people don't want you to outshine them, and I do think
Super agree
sometimes.
with that.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes that if you make an improvement to your life, it shines a light on the fact that these people are not doing the same thing for themselves. So they're envious of that and they're jealous of that. And whether they know this or not, the reason that they are is because they're not pursuing their thing. They see
Mm.
you pursuing your thing. So they're
Hmm.
trying to justify whatever excuse it is about, hey, you might fail, whatever,
Hmm.
just to alleviate the fact that they're guilty that they're not doing the same thing for themselves. I don't think that applies to most people. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I
Hmm.
think there are a portion of people that applies to. Um, but it's like I told this person I was talking about. I was like, if your family or whoever's close to you tells you that if you try this and if you don't need to try this, you might fail, whatever. If you listen to them, you are always going to question, man, what if I just did that thing? Like, what if
Yeah.
I just took a chance on myself? That's one thing. The next thing is if you listen to yourself and you do it and you still fail, you will be okay. Like we talked about earlier, it's the failure is okay.
Yeah.
But not only that, you will build trust with yourself. And I know that sounds backwards. You're like, well, I just tried this thing and it failed. How can I trust myself? It's because you allowed yourself to pursue that thing and then you failed at it. And then you proved to yourself, like, first of all, you could do it. That took courage to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're proving to yourself that it's okay. And then that's like the worst, that's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
The best case scenario, the optimism of it is that you do the thing, it works out, and then you just build monumental trust with yourself because you're successful at it. I don't know. I think it's just it would be a much heavier like thought to say, what if I did this versus, well, I did this and it failed, but I learned from it. And I mean, like you're going to have the experience and you're going to become a better person because of it. Like you can't, like, yes, you might lose money and whatever, and that sucks, and I understand that, but it's like you're going to have that experience to take to the next thing. And who knows, that might be the cocoon that you have to go through to become the butterfly or whatever it is. That's the next level.
Right.
I want to talk about what you said about social media too, because I think it's very important to stress that social media and real life are two different things. You know what I mean?
Super important. It doesn't always feel like that for most people, though. It is super important.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, but you're comparing yourself to a false reality that somebody else is putting on the internet. Like, you see the vacation or the house or whatever, and those, they might have those things. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I can tell you, I mean, I don't know. Some people use Facebook as a diary. I understand that, but most people aren't putting the negative parts of their life on Facebook. It's like it's the best way I've heard it explained was a highlight reel. Social media is a highlight reel. So I don't watch sports, but if you go to a sports channel and they show the highlights from the game that happened a couple days ago, like that's what social media is. Like you don't see when the guy dropped the ball in the end zone and they lost, they get a touchdown from it. Like you don't see that. You just see the highlights. It's literally the highlights. That's what it is.
True that, but you are coming from the place of a confident young man, and there are people with not that much confidence who if they're already at home judging themselves, then they use social media as a way to additionally judge themselves. Right? Yeah.
Well, see, but that's the thing though. Like, and this is why, I guess, I don't know, everybody I'm sure at some degree thinks what they say is valid, but this is why I feel like I have a place to talk about this, because I was not always a confident person. And so I had to like become confident. And the way I did that was exactly what I'm talking about. I'm proving myself to myself, doing hard things, like trying to go out and build a business and failing and meeting, a person and had a sales call or whatever. And I didn't do well at it and whatever, lost money, whatever it was. But it's like, I allowed myself to go through those things. And it's not about, I don't know what, I mean, I have people that like me. I'm sure I have people that dislike me, but it's like, at the end of the day, I took myself through that and I wanted to do a thing. And maybe it doesn't look like what I thought it would look like, but it's like, it's still, first of all, I'm still a lot farther ahead than when I started. And I've still learned things from when I started. And the biggest thing is I can look back and say, you know what? I was nervous in this situation. I was intimidated. I was whatever it was, but like I still did the thing. And so I proved myself to myself along the time. And that's what I try to tell people. Like, it's just, that's what it is. And you don't have to have a business for that. You can do that. The best way I found for most people to do that is through fitness, is through going to the gym, like keeping that promise with themselves. If you tell yourself you're going to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you keep that schedule with yourself over a long enough time period, you become a person that you can trust. And then we talk about self-expression, this intuition, this thing of like, hey, I want to start a business where I teach people how to express themselves and overcome fear through art. You have that inspiration. How can you follow that if you cannot trust yourself? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'll tell you something too, man. I know you got things to say. I'm gonna shut up here in a minute, but I'll tell you something else too, man. I've met people in business and I've done groups and been in stuff, whatever. Like, it's easy to be on the outside looking in at the person who has the business and has the whole thing, and it's easy to think that person has something figured out. But at the end of the day, whatever it doesn't have to be a business. Whatever the person is, they have problems just like you have. They get up in the morning and they put their pants on just like you do. one shoe at a time, whatever it is. They do the same thing that you do. People have the same problems. And you talk about these people that are online or that are home looking at people online. It's easy to put people on a pedestal. It's easy to look at these people and say, oh, well, they have a talent or they have whatever it is. But when you do that, man, that's disempowering because you have maybe you don't have the same thing they have, but there's probably somebody who is in a similar situation to you, whether that's geography or parents or income or whatever it is. They're in a similar situation that you are, and they made it work. So
Mm,
you can make it work. And even if not, man, that's part of your story. That's part of your journey. That's your unique story and your unique journey. So
yeah.
I'm gonna shut up because I know you want to say something.
No, I don't. No, I'm loving the conversation. I'm loving the back and forth of this. Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
all good. Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, I wish that I just wish that people would understand that like you're capable of more things than you think you are. You're able to do more than you think you are. Um, and I think that I don't know, like,
that is literally my message to people, right? Like we just talked about. If at the end of a class they say to themselves, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could do this. I didn't think I could do this. What else can I do that I didn't know I could do?
mhm,
Having that little switch flip in your head is so powerful, and it's a high wall to get over for some people because they just can't see it. And like you were
mhm,
talking about, if the difference between um, trying a business and it failing or never trying with a business, at the end of both of those days, you don't have a business. But
mhm,
the end of the one where you tried it, you've had a thing where you could kind of see over the wall, and maybe you can see other avenues that could have been taken. And at the end of the other one where you just didn't do it, you've got nothing but regret. you know
yeah,
that at the thing not tried, at the thing not taken. um Safety feels good. Safe The idea of safety, I think, is so overpowering before a thing is attempted. And after you've gone through a thing, you're like, that wasn't that scary, that wasn't as big
mm,
a wall as I thought it was. And your brain builds things up in your head, and being able to believe that you can hurdle that thing is just the most bulletproof mentality to have, no matter
yeah.
what it is you are trying to accomplish in life.
Well, so I love the way you put that. You said bulletproof, and I love the way you put that. This reminds me. So I just did a podcast with Samantha Claudio. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce her name. I'm sorry, Samantha, if that's not. Um, but she said that we are the only thing that we get in our own way, and we
Yeah,
are the only thing that gets in our way. Okay,
yeah,
so let's think about this for a minute. If we are the only, because I believe that, I think that's true.
yeah,
So let's just say that we're the only thing that like we get in our own way, and that's all that does get in our way. What that means is whatever that belief is that you have about why you can't do the thing if you're not smart enough or pretty enough or whatever it is, that comes from you. That is something that you put
yeah,
onto yourself. So when you find a way to get over that limiting belief, get over that lie basically that you're telling yourself, what what else is there? I mean, you have to find the
yeah,
money, you have to find the funds, you have to find the clients. Okay, that's just business. Like
yeah,
once you get over that hump of yourself, like you said, it's bulletproof, man. Like
yeah.
what like I just think that if we figure out that, and here's the thing too. You got me started now. Here we go. We're on
Go,
this
you
thing
go.
now. So here's the thing, man. Like a lot of these beliefs that we have about ourselves, I say this all the time, but it's not even our beliefs. It was given to us from parents or education or whatever, siblings or whoever it was, or some person that was not happy
Hmm.
with their life. So they projected
Hmm.
these things onto us. And now, we heard them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and we think that these things are our beliefs, but it's like that's not even what there's so many people that are walking around with beliefs about themselves that is not even something they actually believe about themselves.
And
And
here's
it's like,
the scary thing about that. When the thought initially comes from a parent, from a coworker, from a whatever, your brain can put up some defenses about it. Like, well, that's just your opinion. Once you've adopted that as your own thinking, there is
mm,
no guardrail between you and that thought
yep,
now, because you're not going to have that thought with yourself. Well, I don't know what I'm talking about. Nobody does that. So
yep,
if that is you talking, it's just you mistake that for a reality, a belief, that belief a reality. Yeah. That's
Mm.
that's a tough jump to hurdle.
Well, but like once you do though, like the whole point of me saying all this, once you do is like, what else? Like once you know that that's not even your belief and that is the thing that is holding you back, what else is there? I mean, you like I said, funding, finding the clients, all that's just business. Like
Yeah,
that's like in the grand scheme, that is I'm not saying those are not problems. I'm not saying that's not problems to solve, but that is nowhere near you saying that you can't do it because grandma said that or whoever. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like anyway, so Samantha said that we get in our own way. We're the only thing that gets in our own way. And I love that because it's simple, but it's like, damn man, when you sit back and you think about it and you're like, well, why didn't I try for that thing? Like, why didn't I
Mm,
try to do this? Like, what was it in my mind that said I couldn't do this thing or, whatever the case,
mm,
insert whatever thought,
yeah. To
where did
take
that?
that back to art, when we are 6 years old, we are all painters and singers and
Oh yeah,
dancers, and we do it with
for
joy.
sure. Yeah.
By the time we're 8, we've decided that we don't do that thing, and we're not good at that
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I don't want anybody to watch me sing or paint or dance.
Yep.
And get, somewhere in there is where those things start to creep in. And so,
Well, but what happens during that time period though? Most people start going to school. They
yep,
start being around other
absolutely.
people, you
Hmm.
know? Cause
Yep.
yeah, that's a really good point. I've heard that, the most confident people on the planet are like 3-year-olds,
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
cause they draw whatever, they say whatever,
Yeah.
they tell you half of a story and finish the rest later, like whatever it is,
Yeah.
and it's like, but somewhere, you're right. Somewhere around, 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there,
Hmm.
unfortunately, you start going to school with other
Yeah.
people and, I don't know, people pick on people or whatever it is. And we lose that.
I had a 5 or 6 year old young man come to a class very early on in my business with his mom, and he was just happily painting and I asked him what he was painting, and it was a blue blob in the middle of a piece of paper. He
Hmm.
said, "It's a bear driving a truck." I said, "That's an amazing bear driving a truck," and he said, "Yep." I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be that kid when I grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing about that is though, like that confidence is how most of us start. That's how
Yes,
we start. And then
yes,
we lose it along the way because
yes,
of external factors.
yes. Getting that back, life goal, right? Yeah.
Gosh, man, that's like, I don't know whether that's depressing or if I'm happy about that because like, I mean, we start that way, but then like we all somewhere along the way
Yeah.
don't end up that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something we have control over. It's not like it's generational. It's not like it is, it's just what happens.
This episode is brought to you by Excel Coaching Academy. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I started a mindset coaching business. So what I want to do with this business is I want to help entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, leaders, and fitness enthusiasts or athletes develop the right mindset to increase revenue, improve business or performance, and overcome the challenges needed to become the best version of themselves. You can get more information about this by emailing info@excelcoaching.academy. Hmm. So you mentioned comedy earlier.
Hmm.
So what you do
Funnier
like
than I
stand up?
look.
so, so you so you do like stand up comedy?
I do stand up. I do improv. The stand up that I do is I'm also a musician. I write parodies about menopause.
Okay. So you write music, like you write the
Hmm.
words of music?
Yep, yep. Hot Child in the City is now Hot Flash in the City.
Okay. Okay. Um well that's interesting because I feel like humor is man, humor is like definitely an art form for sure. But it's like
Yeah.
a whole different thing I feel like. Like my favorite comedian, let me see. I like Bill Burr. I do like Bill Burr. But I think Theo Von is probably hard. Like Theo Von is definitely. I mean, just the stuff that he says is so random, dude. And that's what makes it funny. I feel like, and he's just like off in his own. He's in his own place, you know.
Isn't it interesting to think about comedians the same way you think about artists? Because there's so many different styles, right? And
Mm,
everybody's got their own thing, and it's that is their art, and it's all different, and that's why it doesn't appeal. Not everything appeals to everybody. It's just
right.
not supposed to, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for 100% sure right, because there's like so many different. I mean, there's comedians that I don't find funny whatsoever at all. Like
Same.
I don't know. I just don't. I've never really liked the dude Chris. What is it? Chris D'Elia or something like that. Delia or something.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Something. I don't know how to pronounce
Dalia,
his
yeah.
last name. I've never really found his content funny, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
don't know. He's just like I don't know.
It doesn't
But
resonate with you. Just like
yeah,
some art doesn't resonate with you, and that's okay.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and I don't. I mean, he's fine or whatever. I mean, but whatever. But like, yeah, there's so many different styles of it. You know. Um, I don't know. I've never really explored the comedy thing. I've never really went down that road. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm funny, maybe not. But
Something to think about. You're already into writing.
yeah, but I would rather write to inspire than write to, which I guess I don't know. I guess laughter is a form of inspiration.
1,000%. 1,000%. It is another way to be vulnerable without it being painful.
Hmm.
I mean, it can be painful, but most comedians have their own pain points that they are talking about, right?
Yeah.
And being able to laugh at your pain points is another super bulletproofy characteristic to have.
Yeah.
And it vulnerability just is the human bonder.
Hmm.
It is the one thing other than we're born and we die that
Yep.
we all have in common, and
Yep.
it is the thing that draws us to the comedians that you like. I'm sure have the same pain points that you have, and that's why their art speaks to you.
I mean, so okay, so Bill Burr's thing is he's just a smart ass about everything. I just find that hilarious. Um, Theo Von's just kind of all over the place, and he's just I don't know. You never really expect
He's
what
an
he's gonna say.
interesting human. He's a very interesting human to me.
Yeah,
He's so smart, and
but
I feel like
like the
he
thing.
really works hard at not appearing to be as smart as he is.
Well,
Is that just
yeah,
me?
I no, I see what you're saying, but like one thing I found fascinating. So first of all, he did an interview with Donald Trump, right? And he addressed the running president as homie. First of all, that's what happened, and, and then he and then he called him Donald at one point, and he just like whatever. But like one thing that I've noticed about comedians, man, is they can say things like you mentioned the pain points.
Hmm.
They can make a joke about like a cultural issue or whatever. And
Hmm.
like everybody knows what they're saying is true, but it's funny. So they're like they're shining light to the thing. And I just find that I mean that's like fascinating to me that you can take something that if a normal person were to say it, it'd be controversial or whatever. But now that they're saying it in a funny way, it's like people are laughing at it, and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess you're kind of right. Like that's just I don't know, that's crazy to me that we can do that through
Yeah,
comedy, through
yeah,
like basically through comedy you're able to say things and take a lot of the offense out of it. I know sometimes it still offends people, but take
a,
most of the offense out of
yeah, yeah. A stage is a powerful vehicle.
it. Yeah, it's Dave Chappelle I think is probably one of the big ones at that. He takes a lot of the cultural stuff and I'm not saying that things are funny. I'm just saying he makes a joke out of it and when he says it is funny. You know.
Yes,
Um Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Comedy is such a but I'm glad because we were kind of going for a while there. We were trying to like cancel comedians for certain things. And I'm like, man, you know, people should be able to say what they want to say, especially in that space. I mean, it's a joke,
especially
like
in that space.
um and it's like, well, why does it offend you? That goes back to the self-confidence thing. Like, why does this thing, you know, why does it I don't know. But that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, what do you think about when you're on stage, you like memorize what you're gonna say? Like is it
Yeah, because it's all music. So
okay.
I basically Weird Al my life.
Okay.
That's basically it. When I do improv, I am a goofy human. So I am a goofy human. I really try to tone down the goofy. Not always easy for me, but I try. Um, yeah.
Do you ever like get nervous when you before you go up there?
No, and
You
I
don't?
have no idea why. maybe
Hmm.
because I was in garage bands from teenager up, and also because I really do embrace the idea of vulnerability.
Hmm.
It happens where I forget lines or I forget a chord that I'm trying to play on the ukulele while I am doing a thing,
Yeah.
and I just sit there till it comes to me, or somebody yells something out, and I'm like, oh, thank you, and then I just keep going with the where I had been, and people love that stuff. I don't mess up on purpose. I don't. But that is our connector, right? So I don't
Yeah.
fear it. I don't fear messing up because I know people are like, "Oh, I love her. She's a wreck."
Well,
You
I
know?
think I think that's one of the reasons like Theo Vaughn is so popular because he's
Yeah.
like there's no filter and he shows there's like a humanity aspect to it, especially like like most comedians have that. Like they're human.
Yeah.
Like they'll tell
Hmm.
you their story about what happened to them that week and how they like, whatever. But
Yes.
like I think that human aspect of it is very, very important, man. Um
Yes. Yeah.
and
Very much so.
you've seen that a lot recently in the political climate. You've seen that sort of because for the longest time politicians were like it was very clearly a facade, and like I'm not saying that it's not now, but it was
Hmm.
very clearly like who you were seeing was not this person. But now I feel like especially this last election people in that space they were more, I don't want to say open, but there was just more of a human aspect to it. Like this person, like, oh, they have children, they have a family, like they slipped up in this speech or whatever. um yeah, I think that's important. I think that connection to like just to know that that person is another human being. I think that's important.
Really agree. Really agree with that. Yeah. When I do improv, there's nothing rehearsed about it. I can get in my head a little bit too much about that. You can't preload information. You just have to know how improv is a very chess-like kind of
Mm,
an activity. So that one can make me nervous. But other than that, man, I love being in front of people. It's a high for me. It's not for
mm,
everybody. It freezes some people up. I really, really enjoy it. I have no idea why. I enjoy it as much as I do.
yeah.
But
Well,
I do.
you're probably aligned with
Mm,
your. I wouldn't necessarily say. I mean, it might be your purpose. I don't know. I think purpose is a very heavy way to say it, but
mm,
definitely a passion. You're aligned with that.
mhm,
Um,
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I
I
would
think
agree with that.
when you're in alignment, is because you might feel comfortable in that, but maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable going up, to say something that was completely unrelated, like a political speech or something like that, like something completely unrelated. Yeah, I don't know. You might be comfortable, but
I can tell you
maybe,
where I would be completely uncomfortable. I am an art teacher who has no videos.
huh?
I I thrive on the interaction, like the conversation we're having, or when I'm
Yeah.
teaching a class, when I'm in front of people. If it's just me and a camera, I teach like this. This is how I see myself teaching in my head. Uh, um, uh,
Well, so in your defense, man, it's like it's tough being on camera by yourself. Because when I
yes.
started the podcast, I actually tried to start recording just me by myself, and I was like, listen, even for me, I like to run my mouth. I don't know enough about anything to talk about this long with by myself. Like I don't, like this is not going to work. And so yeah, I mean, I kind of get that. I kind of see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, yeah. That makes me feel better. But that
Yeah,
is the
it's
thing. I that is why I don't have any videos. I'm like, no, I'm happy to just teach one person. I would rather do that than be in front of a camera. It's just not a comfort zone for me.
you would probably do well with like lives on social media like
Ooh.
Facebook or Instagram lives where people can you'll film yourself and you like people will comment like whatever
Mm.
and you'll interact. Yeah,
I
you would
gotta
probably
try
do well
that.
with, yeah, you'd
I gotta
probably do
try
well with
that.
that because that's different from you just talking to the camera and just saying because that is kind of it's not this weird, it's just like I don't know, man, I don't feel natural in that
Yeah,
space.
exactly. I feel like I'm not talking naturally. My brain shuts down.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to box a tape up and send it to somebody for like a TV interview or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. I don't know. Um, but yeah, but then I started the podcast, like started interviewing people, and there was a learning curve there too. So I'm still learning with that. But I was like, man, this feels so much better. I don't know how they feel about it. I don't know if I ever shut up, but like I
Have you ever had anybody just leave mid-show?
No, no, no. It's actually I actually have a pretty good experience. Oh, did you just leave? Okay, well, there's a first time for
There's a
everything.
first
So,
for everything.
um,
First.
no, I don't know, man. It's usually pretty fun. It's usually a pretty fun time. I think this is the first time I've ever had a comedian on here, so this is interesting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So all the pressure on you now. An hour into this
Well,
thing, you
pleasure.
got just um, yeah. I don't know, man. It's just the whole content creation space. Like, there's just so many different ways. Like, people do the lives, people do podcasts, people do the videos of themselves, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people just get on lives and just say nothing for like an hour straight, but like whatever. Uh, yeah, I don't know. There's just so many different ways to do it. Like, I'm really trying to build right now. I'm trying to build my TikTok audience up because I'm streaming live to a couple places right now. But I have to have TikTok has to be 10,000 plus followers to stream live
Oh.
to that. And TikTok's live is like it's really interactive with people.
Wow.
So yeah. So I don't know if you're on TikTok or not. You should try it out and see how it works.
I'm an elderly lady, Cody Jones. So I mean, I have TikTok. I've been on there. Sometimes
Yeah.
I accidentally post to there because I put something on Instagram and it puts
Mm-hmm.
things on TikTok. I'm sure I have checked something to make that happen. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, look, I have a TikTok video. Huh, cool. I have never put in, I don't think I've ever put anything on there on purpose.
Well,
It's
you have to have a lot of self control on TikTok, man, because you will spend an hour of your life and it will go by quick because like it's just so easy to scroll to the next video.
yes.
Like I put a time limit on my social media apps on my phone.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I try to not go over that, even though sometimes like at the end it'll say like add 10 minutes and I just hit the little button add 10 minutes, but like I try to not go over. I think it's an hour I have set for like over 4 different apps.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people on TikTok that do like the lives. Like people do so many creative things. It's like you'll see people like playing guitars and instruments and drums and things like that. I've never seen somebody paint, but I'm sure it's out there. People will be like writing stuff. I saw one guy. I don't know who it was, but he had like like one of those old like feather pens or whatever.
Quill pen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quill pen, and he was writing like what looked like in that. It was like the style that the Declaration of Independence or something was written in.
Yeah.
Like he was
Kind of
handwriting
calligraphy?
that. Yeah, something like I don't know what it's called, but he was doing that by hand, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. And I sat there for like 5 minutes, and I was like, all right, I got things to do.
It's kind of an ASMR thing.
Yeah, no, it was just him. It was
Just
him writing out like in that style, and it was just like
crazy.
have you ever seen the videos of somebody like pressure washing something, and it's just like really satisfying to see like the the transition.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man.
So good.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time. Like I just my tax attorney has another client who does watch repair on YouTube. He's got almost 1 million followers, and his videos are all just 3 different camera angles of him tinkering with a watch. And he's just like, wow, look at the thing I found. It still ticks. And I'm like, here's something I don't tell a lot of people because it'll explain why I'm single, Cody. I have over 1,000 snow globes.
What's wrong with snow globes?
Could repair snow globes on the TikTok. There's got to be an audience for that. Probably not. Probably zero audience for that.
Listen, these are the limiting beliefs you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
There's absolutely an audience for that out there. What's wrong with snow globes?
Well, I don't know. Aren't they just below the cat owning on the why people are single chart? Snow globe cat. No,
I don't know. I'll say this: I've never been scratched by a snow globe, so that's
true that.
Like cats are little assholes, man.
They
like,
are I have such a complicated relationship with my cat.
Yeah. Well, you know what? No, I gotta say this because I'm biased. This is coming from a biased place. So one time, this was like a couple years ago. There was a little kitten that came to my house, right? Just a little tiny kitten could fit in your hand came to my house. And I was like, oh, this is neat, little kitten. Like, so I bought it food. I was like taking care of it or whatever. And the damn thing just ran away. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, you know. And so I don't know. I guess a lady next to me, a couple doors down, she has a bunch of cats. So I guess it went back. But I was like, damn, I got to attach this thing. And it just ran away after I was trying to take care of it. I went and bought it food and everything. And so anyway, so I'm kind of pissed off about that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just I wanted to say something about what you said. You said you were talking about snow. Oh, the watches.
Yeah.
Man, you talk about art form. Watching like watches. This is a fossil watch, so this is not like one of these. But some of those watches are like handmade, and like they're like tens of thousands of dollars. And there's actually a lot that goes into a handmade watch like that. So if that guy repairs watches.
Videos.
Yeah. I mean, people don't understand like those watches that are like several $100,000. Like it's like a craft to make that thing.
Yes.
But so I man, I don't know how that guy got started in that, but he probably does very well in that.
He probably does. From what I could tell, he like buys used, vintage, beautiful watch pieces from antique stores and whatever that and most of them don't work, or they're literally rusted shut. And he just very meticulously takes the thing apart, cleans every single piece, and puts the thing back together. It's really cool. I have one of my favorite shows I love to watch is BBC's Repair Shop. It's a big old barn in the middle of nowhere in southern England, where people bring their vintage toys and leather things, and they've got this barn is full of artisans who put these things back together. They've got an artist who, if somebody accidentally puts a chair through a big beautiful painting, she seals the thing up and paints over so you can't tell where. Man, it's just my favorite show, watching things get put back together again. Oh, so good.
There's a lot of people make a lot of money in restoration. I know people who do like furniture restoration. Like they'll restore like old damaged furniture. And it's like I didn't even know there was a market for that. Like I didn't know there was like, I mean, you see couches in like the landfill or whatever. I didn't realize you could make money out of that.
Yeah, who loves their chair enough?
I mean, but they'll take like you'll see people. They'll do like the wood grain finish or whatever. I mean, it's crazy how they do it. But all that, like everything that we're talking about, man, all that is art. Like all that is a form of art.
Yeah,
and
literally is.
Somebody was probably out there and was like, "Hey, if I go restore this couch, I bet that's going to be stupid." But then they did it, and then they like, "Oh man, this is great!" And now I got a business out of this.
Do you know what ikigai is?
What is that?
Ikigai, it's a Japanese word, and it is the intersection of doing what you love, what you're good at, what you can get paid to do, and what the world needs. So what your passion is.
Do you know how to spell this?
Ikigai, IKIGAI.
IKIGAI. Okay.
Look that up. The intersection of something you're passionate about, that you love, that you're good at, that you can get paid to do, and that the world needs. The intersection of that is where you should live, right? Yeah. I feel like that's where I'd live.
I love that. And that's what I was talking about earlier about the alignment.
Yes.
Side note, Japan or whoever came up with the Japanese language, I'm assuming Japan somewhere.
I'm assuming Japan.
Yeah. They're like, man, you talk about like words being an art, like art, like what am I trying to say here? Creative writing and like words, novels and stuff. There's words that are in the Japanese language that are not in the English language. Like this, for example, I don't think there's an English word for that. And then there's also, there's a Japanese word. I learned this from Joe Rogan's podcast. There's a Japanese word for the feeling you get when you get a bad haircut. Yeah.
There's a Japanese word for the moments before you step off the curb.
What?
I love that. I don't know what that word is. I heard it once. I didn't retain it. But I love that there's for that moment that you're just like, I'm about to go. Oh.
I haven't heard of that.
So good. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
Like in English, we're not very, like the English language, we're not very creative. We take one word and put like 5 different meanings to it. So we're not like, we don't go that route. Like like the word
snow.
Snow?
Alaskans have 14 different words for the word snow, for our word
God,
snow.
that's crazy, man.
It's insane.
You know what's really crazy is like I want to be able to learn another language because I think people that speak multiple languages, it just fascinates me
Yes.
because I most people can't speak one language fully.
Yes.
So like so so people that can speak multiple languages, man, that is just insane to me.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, because you go to anywhere like anywhere outside the U.S., people have their language, and then they have like English, which is a dominant language in a lot of places.
Hmm.
But then here we are, the English speaking people, and we speak one language, and it's like, man, we're falling behind. You know, I mean, I took a couple years of Spanish in high school, but it was very elementary, like the very basics of it, and
Yeah.
that was a while ago now. So,
I took 6 years of French in high school and college. And by
hmm.
the time I finally went to France and I tried to do refresher before I went, nobody understood one word I was saying.
You know what? I wish I could hear what the English accent sounds like. Because like if you hear a person who speaks native Spanish, but they learn English, there's like a certain thing to it. Like Russian, there's a certain thing to it. Whatever. Like I wish I could like speak that language and hear what an English sound accent sounds like in that language. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and this is an interesting thing to Google. There is a somebody, and I don't know if they're Spanish or Russian or what they are, but their video is called "What English Sounds Like to Me,"
Hmm.
and it sounds like they are speaking English, but you can't understand what they're saying because they're not saying English words. They're
Right.
just talking in an English accent, I guess you would say, but it's
Yeah.
gobbledygook. It's very fascinating because you're like, why can't I pick up the words? Because it sounds like they're talking just the way that we are talking right now because they're just
Yeah.
making the sounds the way that we do. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I'd like to see that too. But
Yeah.
what I'm talking about is like a person who, like, if my primary language is English and I
Hmm.
learn how to speak Spanish and I speak
Hmm.
Spanish to a Spanish speaking person, like, how does that sound to them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because like a person who speaks, well, I guess like Russian. I don't know how to really describe what a Russian accent sounds like, but it's very like thick, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like a Spanish accent is like, I don't know how to say it other than fluent. Like it's like like a Spanish
Mm.
accent flows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting, but man, it's crazy that there's so many different like languages in the world. Like how do you, we just at some point decided what a word meant. We just made a sound and like, that's what this means. You know how
Yeah.
much time that takes?
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes they are stolen from other cultures or other places, and we just kind of adopt them. That's language origin is a super fascinating thing. But we have a
Hmm.
lot of French words that we just use verbatim, and they have a lot of English words too. And it sounds so funny when they're speaking French, and all of a sudden the word, diplomat or hamburger shows up in the middle. You're like, oh, you just spoke English. Like, no, this is our word now.
Yeah. I think Spanish has a couple English sounding words like that too. Or at least you can tell what, like, you can understand what they mean because it's so close.
Yes.
Uh, you know what I love most about this conversation
Hmm.
is like we started off this whole thing about fear and self expression, and then we just took the self expression thing and just like both expressed ourselves to the ultimate, like to the ultimate right here because we've been all over the place. Like we we talked about languages and snow globes and like comedy and everything. Like we just went with it.
When we started, I was hoping we were going to get to foreign language, and I wasn't sure we were going to be able to do it, but we did it.
Well, hey, was there a certain purpose for it? Because I don't know any like. I I know
It's on my checklist here, foreign language. It's not. I
why.
just made that up.
Oh,
I
oh,
just
oh.
literally just made that up.
Well, I might have to edit that out because now I feel like an idiot because I thought you were. I thought you were. Dude, I actually thought you were serious. That's embarrassing. Um. What? Well, what else is on your list? What did you want to get to that we didn't get to? Because I know we probably hit almost nothing on that list. I can guarantee you
No,
that.
no, this is not even a list. This is a list of talking
Oh,
points
okay.
for my classes. Just
Okay. All
the
right.
piece of paper I have up. I didn't have a list.
Okay,
No,
good.
I think we did great. I loved the twists and turns that this took. Yeah.
Well, some people don't like that, and I get that. Like I guess they want it to be structured so they kind of know where it's going or whatever. But
Mm,
I don't really like, you know, like parameters on a conversation because I feel
mm.
like if that's the case, then what is that really a conversation or is that a script? You
Exactly.
know,
Exactly.
I mean, I try to provide like a general guideline of where we might go, but hey, you never know, man. I might be telling you that you should take your snow globes and go on stage and repair them in French. Like you don't know. We don't know what happens.
And I want to do that now. And I would not have had that thought by myself had we not had that conversation. And that's
I'm
kind of the
just
beautiful thing about entrepreneurship as well, is it can't live inside the box, can it? There's no
oh no, well,
growing
and
outside of that
that's
box.
why I say it's an art form, man.
Yes.
Because yes, there's like maybe I don't want to use the word templates, but there's like examples that you can follow.
Hmm.
Like, hey, this
Hmm.
person did it this way, but it's really unique to the person, you know.
Hmm.
And it's like how I might do things, how you might do things. The exact same scenario is completely different,
Hmm.
and that's why, like, man, I think one of the best lessons I've ever learned in entrepreneurship was um what would you call this? Like personality styles, basically. Like
Yes.
how I come across to other
Yes.
people, maybe with this specific personality, because that's really all. Like that's all business is like interacting with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's numbers to it, and all that stuff is important. It's very important. I understand all that, but it's like it's the interaction with. Like you can't teach. I don't think you can really teach that. And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to minimize anybody who has a business degree, but it's like there's a lot of things you just can't learn, from without the actual experience. Um,
Totally agree. Hmm.
but yeah, just check out the TikTok thing, man. Like
Yeah.
check it out and see if like all you have to do is go to live and you'll see all kinds of different people on there. And
Yeah. I'm
there's a
so
lot of
doing that.
people on TikTok who have made a lot of money from, and I'm not saying to do this for monetary reasons. I'm just saying people do really well on TikTok.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things out there. Like, I'm surprised I haven't seen a watch repair person on TikTok because uh, I don't know, man. I just can't imagine the patience. I don't have a lot of patience, and I can't imagine working on something that's like worth $250,000, and like you got these little magnifying glasses on, and you're just trying to like I can't, I can't do it. I can't do it. But anyway, look, this has been a great conversation, man. Really has. I'm gonna let you get out of here in a minute. But seriously though, is there anything that we didn't get to that you wanted to cover? Any
No,
topics?
no, I really don't think so. I really, really do love how we interwove art and entrepreneurship. Usually I
Yeah,
talk about one or I talk about the other, and this just so beautifully folded together. It was really great. Yeah.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Um, So before we close, do you have any links you want to share? Any a website, social media, a TikTok, hopefully, or anything?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what my TikTok one
That's
is,
okay. I
but
was just joking.
my my Instagram is ANJLKR. My website is brushcapades.com. Find the things, or yeah, my name is right here. If you just Google that annoyingly weird spelling, it was a great idea when I was 14. But Anjl Rodee, it's all very phonetic. All the socials will come up. So look me up, hit me up, and let's do some art.
Yeah, I like that. And if you send that to me, I'll share it in the descriptions.
We'll do.
But I mean, as far as the name goes, man, I would wear that. I mean, that's unique.
Yeah, yeah. When I here's the funny thing. My name is Halo Wings Angel, right? And when I
Mhm.
was 14, I thought that that would not be interesting enough in the corner of a painting, so I changed it to the phonetic. Here's why that's interesting. I was not yet painting,
Hmm.
but knew that that was going to be my direction. That was literally why I changed the spelling of the name. Kind of weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe you had that future you that was sending you a message. You
Right?
know.
Ooh, love that thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the thought.
Um.
I just heard recently this thing that said the only two people you have to impress in life is 8-year-old you and
Mhm.
80-year-old you. If
Yep.
8-year-old you can look up to you, and if 80-year-old you is like, yeah, well done, um,
Yep.
that is it.
I believe that, and I'll add a little twist to that that's probably going to blow your mind. You are the thing that connects those two. Like
Mm,
whatever that 8-year-old you wants the 80-year-old you to have, you are the
yeah.
bridge that connects the two because it happens through you. Like people say, life doesn't happen for you or doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Mm,
I don't think it happens to you. I don't think it happens for you. I think it happens through you. I
mm,
think you are the thing that brings whatever that 80-year-old you wants to have to life. I mean,
yeah,
that's the only way that it can be, you
I
know?
love that. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this has been a great conversation, man. So one thing I ask everybody before we close, if you could share one of the most important lessons you've ever learned from either your personal life, if you're comfortable sharing it, or your career, your business, painting, what do you think is one of the most important lessons you've ever learned?
I've talked about it a lot. Uh, vulnerability is is the thing. I guess I would say. I will tell you a story that I don't tell a lot of people. I was when I was younger, I did a lot of cool jobs and
Hmm.
didn't feel like a cool person. I felt like I was an uncool person doing cool things. So I had a lot of walls up as far as I didn't let people very close in. I didn't have a lot of very close, intimate relationships with men or with women. And my biggest fear in life was abandonment, childhood issues. And then I got in a relationship. The relationship took me 2,000 miles away from my comfort zone, and that relationship abruptly ended. And the thing I feared most happened to me. And very quickly, soon after, my life became exactly what it was when I was afraid that I was faking all the cool things. And I came to the realization that I am that person that I thought I was just faking being. And
Mm,
I went very quickly from working for someone else to working for myself out of necessity. And my life trajectory did this. And that was the reason I said to you, this kind of has to happen so that that can happen. That happened to me, and now I do feel like a very bulletproof human. You can drop me anywhere on the planet and I'm going to be just fine,
mm,
because those skills were tested, because I was put somewhere outside of my control. I didn't decide to do brave things, I had to do brave things. I'm lucky that it happened that I had to do brave things, or I may never have done the brave things. Do the brave things, do the brave things, and let the vulnerability with yourself be, trust yourself, trust that you're gonna pull yourself out and through and to success, because you will.
mm. I love that, man. I think you're right. I don't think that high can exist without the low, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So there's a law or a principle of the universe called the law of polarity.
Mm,
And it basically says that like things exist in opposites.
mm,
Like I've said this
exactly.
before, like I think that I think that there's really bad things or really bad people in the world, but I also think there's really good things and really good
Mm,
people. I think sometimes we have a really bad experience, but there's always good that can come from that.
absolutely.
If you just shift how you see it, like like we said earlier, this isn't happening to me, it's not happening for me,
Mm,
but where I'm going to be outside of this is happening through me. Like this
yeah,
is basically this is part of my story, you know.
yeah.
Uh and I don't know, man, it's just like that is incredibly empowering when you feel like, and you can say, people can say like, oh, you're just lying to yourself, you're trying to manipulate yourself into a, feel better about the situation. But it's like it's empowering to tell yourself like you have the power to change this thing and improve your life from this situation.
Is
Because
there anything more
because
empowering than being grateful for the bad thing?
well,
There's
like
nothing more important than that.
what is the alternative? You're just going to sit there and be sad? Like
Yeah,
what else are you going to do?
yeah.
I mean,
Who won then? Who won?
yeah, yeah,
You know when
exactly.
you win? When you take that thing and you say thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, I love it. I get it. And I think, it's easy to think about vulnerability as a weakness, but it actually takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable, you know,
Absolutely true.
whether that's in a relationship or whatever, it takes,
Starting a business.
yeah, yeah. Anything that you can
Hmm.
fail in it,
Hmm.
or, whatever. Um, yeah, it takes a lot of strength. So, uh, but yeah, man, this is crazy. You might need a neck brace from the whiplash from all the different conversations that we had going all over going all over the place. But yeah. So if you can hang out for just a second, let me explain the upload. I think you actually well, yeah, I'll explain it to you in a second. But I appreciate it, man. It's been a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to listening back to this.